আমাদের
বাইরে যাওয়ার
আমাদের
দরকার।
আচ্ছা
This call is now being recorded.
Write your name and roll number, just 6%. Good morning, everybody. Today I discuss about the carcinogen. দেখতে পাচ্ছ? হ্যালো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার দেখতে পাচ্ছি।
ওকে। Carcinogens. দাঁড়াও।
স্যার উজ্জ্বলকে একটু জয়েন করে নিন।
Carcinogens. Carcinogen are the compound. Sometimes it will be the chemical or sometimes the natural compounds or having the different biological compound like the DNA and the RNA virus. কি আবার অনামিকা নাকি? হয়েছে অনামিকা? Thank you very much for your joining, the all of you. The carcinogen, today I discuss about the carcinogens. Carcinogens are the compounds which are generally coming from the natural source or from the biological source or by the chemical agents that produce the cancer. Just like the mutagens, mutagen produce some mutation. That means mutagens sometimes produce the carcinogen. That's why there's sometimes some mutagens are the carcinogen, but all carcinogens are not mutagen. Obviously, carcinogenic substances are mutagens, but all the mutagenic substances are not carcinogens. Those mutagenic substances which produce the cancer or cancer diseases, that is, they are called the carcinogens. So I think indeed this topic discussed in the UG level also, but today I discuss about in case elaborately in regarding this carcinogens. Before we go through the carcinogens, basically the carcinogen which produce the cancer. The cancer is the disease, the cell diseases. Actually, uncontrolled proliferation of cells, or while the cell growth is abnormality, because generally there is some cell will be generated and that will be differentiated, then they mature and they function, ultimately the death. This is the normal function, just like your life. They will be born, then they grow, and the development, differentiation, and finally the death. But it is certain period of time. When it is the less before the time or above the time, it is called the abnormal death. So there is a cell grow abnormality. Just it is not in the normal. And in the malignant neoplasm or new growth, new sometimes new cell will be generated or it is accumulated that form a tumor, that is called the neoplasia. This is the first step of cancer. It is called the neoplasia. A mass of tissue, abnormal, excessive and uncoordinated purposeless proliferation. What is the mass of tissue? This mass of tissue, there is some criteria. One is the abnormal. This is not a normal in shape. Another is the excessive. This is not required a huge amount, but it is form a excessive. That's why the excess growth will become, and there is a tumor formation, and uncoordinated, there is a no coordination. The cell will become and then function, and one cell coordinate to other cell, there is a no coordination, and in that more or less period of time there excessive amount of a number of cell will be produced, that because the uncoordinated, there are no coordination between these two cells, and not only the purposeless, there is no purpose, there is a your body having the different tissue or the cell having the different function or the different purpose, but here is the no purpose or purposeless proliferation. That means uncontrolled proliferation of cell is a mass of tissue. What is oncology? It is the study of cancer. Or oncos means tumor and logy means study or study of tumor. It is called oncologist, and those are those person who are study in this or engaged in this subject. It is called the oncologist or cancer oncologist. And the what is the in this oncologist, in this tumor or neoplasia, generally two types. One is the benign tumor and there is the malignant tumor. What is benign tumors? Benign tumors, this is a solid tumor that does not invade or shape, not cancerous. That means it's a solid tumor which are fixed into the body and they are not palpable and they are not produce any cancer type of disease. That is called the benign tumor. That type of tumor can be removed by only by the surgery. Another is the malignant tumor. This is the main problem, or this is produce the cancer. It is invades, destroy tissue in which the originate and can spread into the other tissue via bloodstream or lymphatic systems. So this is a very harmful. It is a malignant tumors or in the cancerous cells or cancerous tumor. They basically consist of the cancerous cell, and this cell is spread through the lymphatic system as well as the bloodstream, and the invasive destroying the tissue in which the originate and can spread into the tissue. That is called the malignant tissue. So what are the difference between the solid tumors or benign tumors and then the malignant tumors? Benign tumors are not harmful. It is just uncontrolled growth, and the growth will be appear and that will be removed by surgery, or sometimes they will have no problem, but sometimes the malignant tumor produce cancer, but due to some oncogenic stimulation. But in case of malignant tumor, that is a totally at the first day of this malignant cell or malignant tumor that produce the cancer, and ultimately it will be produced. So you can see here there are called the malignant tumors and another is the benign. This is the malignant or cancerous cell. They go huge number of, they are fixed these types of cell. Then the property of cancer cell. What are the property of cell? Property of the normal cell and the cancer cell. In case of cancer cells, there is a unrepented growth. The growth is not controlled. Unrestrained, without restrained growth. Invasion of the local tissue. That means they are not invasion, means not attached with this local tissue or attached with the tissue. That is called the invasion of local tissue, and is the metastasis. Metastasis means this is the fourth stage of cancer or last stage of cancer. That means the cancer cell spread throughout the body by the blood or by the lymphatic system. That is called the metastasis. So these are the basic property of cancerous cell: unrestrained growth, invasion of the local cell tissue, and where it will be originate, they are invasive, and finally it will be the metastasis condition. That means after the tumor will mature, after a certain times it is not cured, then the tumor will be burst and it will be spread throughout the body by the blood or by the lymphatic system. That is called the metastasis. Another morphological changes: shape, rounder, generally round in shape. Motility, loss of contact inhibition of the movement. Loss of contact inhibition of movement. Growth, loss of contact inhibition or multilayer or number of nucleus. These are the growth. Actually, there is so difference between the normal cell and the biochemical. What are the biochemical changes in case of cancer cell? There are alteration of the gene regulation. Last class we discussed about the gene regulation and their DNA synthesis. in case of cancer cell is quite differ from the normal cell. In case of RNA synthesis, obviously the protein synthesis and abnormalism growth. Ultimately, their DNA synthesis, replication, transcription, and translation. Ultimately, the abnormalism will become and their growth will be changes due to alteration of gene regulation. So these are the chemical, biochemical, morphological property of cancer cell. What are the biochemical changes? If a cancer will be occurred, what are the biochemical changes and what are you can study about this? What types of changes in case of the cancer cell? Number one, alter the gene regulation. I discussed in the previous class the gene regulation in case of prokaryotics only, the lycopyrin and the tryptophan. But in case of eukaryotic, it is so much higher, difficult than the prokaryotics, this gene regulation by the different mechanisms. Alter the gene regulation, not the gene regulation, its gene will be regulated, their growth will be promoted and increase the DNA synthesis. The DNA synthesis, because cell division is the faster, so replication will be faster. If one cell will produce another cell and increase, obviously DNA replication is increases, so obviously the transcription, that means increases the number of RNA. The number of RNA will become the increases, obviously related to protein synthesis, increase the number of protein and abnormality and growth factors and hormones. So many growth factors and hormones, ultimately growth will become. That's why the cell will be generated one cell to another, and finally the mass of cell will be formed. That is nothing but a tumor, and it will be produce a cancer. Increase in the aerobic and anaerobic glycolysis. Both this case, anaerobic and aerobic glycolysis will be increased in case of cancer, and synthesis of the lactic acid and lactic acidosis in case of lactate dehydrogenase. That's why in case of cancer patient or in case of malignancy, the LDH1 and or basically LDH5, that the isoenzyme 5s, this LDH5 which is predominantly present in the muscle, and at that cancer condition, if you estimate the LDH5, it will be much more high, because at that time the lactic acid, because LDH main function is pyruvic acid to lactic acid in absence of oxygen. So in absence of oxygen, in aerobic and anaerobic glycolysis it will be increases, so the LDH will be increases and they produce lactic acid, and lactic acid which is deposited in the muscle, it is called the lactic acidosis. And alteration of the cell surface due to changes in the composition of the glycoprotein and the glycolipid. Alteration of the cell surface, that means cell membrane, due to changes in the composition of the cell protein and the glycoprotein, and its decrease biochemical changes. In case of carcinomas, the cancer arises, different types of cancer will be occurred, and what type of cancer, but different organ having the different names. But the what are the types of cancer? One is the carcinomas or carcinoma. Cancer arises from the epithelial cell, it is called the carcinoma. What is sarcoma? Is the mesenchymal tissue. When the cancer produced in the mesenchymal cell, that is called the sarcoma. Another is leukemia. Leukemia means which is cancer in the WBC. You know, it means WBC count will be increases. Another the lymphoma, that means cancer in the lymphatic gland. And hepatoma, which is the which is cancer in the hepatocytes, that means which is present in the liver. That's why it's called the hepatoma. So basically these 5 types of carcinoma, sarcoma, adenoma, sometimes adenoma also, because when the cancer produced in the adrenal gland, that is called the adenoma. And leukemias, that means RBC, and lymphoma, that may in case of lymphatic. So based on the origin, they are classified into the 4 or 5 to 6 classes, but sometimes they are classified or name will be given in the localized. Suppose in case of stomach cancer, lung cancer, liver cancer, but in case of PCLE, these different types of tissues or cancer will be produced in the different tissues, and based on this they are classified in the 5 to 6 classes. What are the etiology or the main cause of the cancer? The familiar cause of the genetic factors, one of the most important factors, the geographical factors. Some geographical factors, there is some, suppose there is some topical area. In that case, there is some UV ray will be extra, and that UV ray changes penetrate into the body and produce the multiple myeloma or skin cancer. So geographical variation, not only the topical, but the others also causes the cancer. In the Asian nasopharyngeal cancer, in case of geographical factors, in case of the Asian, the nasopharyngeal cancer is the most common. The Japanese is the breast cancer because they are geographical origin. African skin cancer because the very topical area, they produce TT dimer and multiple myeloma. In case of European, they are a colon cancer. Environmental factors, which is the environmental factors like, and the age after above the age 50, there is a chance of cancer. In case of sex, male is more prone to women for cancer. Environmental factors. What are the environmental factors? Some factors, most important factor is the cigarette smoking. Cigarette, if you already know, cigarette and alcohol, which is very injurious to health. And also the passive smokers. Which is the passive smokers? Those person which are standing or sitting in front of the active smoker. Suppose you do not smoke cigarette, but you stand or sit in nearest to some active smoker, who smoke the cigarette. So you are the most affected person than the active smoker. It is literally and experimentally proved. So cigarette, actually this cigarette contains the chemical benzopyran, and which is causes the chemical benzopyran, and which causes the cancer. Another is the alcohol abuse. Alcohol, in case of American, there is a less chance of cancer because their gene, their alcohol dehydrogenase, the alcohol is digested or metabolized by the alcohol dehydrogenase, but their isoforms alpha beta 2, these are very they are not converted to actually alcohol. It is converted, alcohol dehydrogenase is converted to acetaldehyde. Then again this alcohol dehydrogenase, aldehyde dehydrogenase, which produces the acetic acid, and that acetic acid produces some cancer, cell necrosis and cancer. So if this process occurred in case of American, is less because their isoform of enzymes is different than the Chinese and the Japanese and the Asian also. So alcohol abuse, you take alcohol, the liver cirrhosis or liver cancer chance is very high. So alcohol, one of the most important factor environmentally, you restrict it, otherwise it will be a chance of cancer. Another is the tobacco. Obviously the tobacco, gutka, this is very harmful to produce some oral cancer. Betel nut, it is also produce some cancer, and arsenical compounds that will be produced, and vinyl chloride and asbestos, coal tars. Those are those working in the asbestos factory or coal tar factory, especially for the iron, the benzene or naphthalene. Those are the chemical compound or the chemical carcinogen. They due to their environmental factor, they produce cancer. The chances of cancer, that means is all the people which are working in the asbestos company or coal tar or benzene company, they all are producing cancer, but there is a chance of cancer. It is because if this chemical, actually in our body, two system are the oncogene and proto-oncogenes. This chemical compound first activate the proto-oncogene. This proto-oncogene activate the oncogene, and finally the cancer will be produced. But if it is not, the another gene which is controlled, that is the tumor suppressor gene or P53. If this tumor suppressor gene is inhibited the activity of proto-oncogene or oncogene, the tumor will be suppressed. So these are the chemical factors that produce cancers. Another is the physical carcinogens. These are the chemical, and here the physical carcinogen. Now radiant energy, UV light, ionization and radiation. UV light, I already told you, UV light produce a TT dimer or thymine dimer. In case of, that's why so many cream available in the market. They are UV protective or UV protective, UV or sunscreening lotion, because this UV light produce TT dimer. T generally bind with that AT, but here T with T, and that produce a multiple myeloma or skin cancer. Another is the ionizing radiation. In case of ionizing radiation, there is a chance of genetic alteration. So that's why any x-ray যখনই দরকার হবে তখনই it will be done, but otherwise unnecessary some injury or at that condition you cannot do x-ray, because the ionizing radiation also produce sometimes DNA mutation or changes alteration of DNA sequence, and finally the cancer will be produced. For example, another is the sunlight oldering arc, some person which are oldering, and UV lamps, and the skin cancer will be produced. Formation of pyrimidine dimer, जो बोलना pyrimidine, thymine is the base of pyrimidine and in the DNA strand, and formation of the upbreak of the apurine or apyrimidine site of the elimination or pyrination apyrimidation, or by the deamination and breaking of the cross-linking of the single or double strand DNA. This is another cause by the physical agent. They produce breaking of the cross-linking, where the genetic with the forearms bind with the one point, some one arm change with the others, left to right or right to left. This ionizing radiation, X-ray, alpha, beta, gamma ray, and radioactive isotope, protons and neutrons. These are the chemical agent. They produce some cross-linking. Breakage of cross-linking. Ionizing radiation damage the DNA and dislodge the ionization, form the H2O and biomolecules, and interact with the proteins, DNA, and cancer and the mutagens. Another is the hormone. Hormonal carcinogens. Some hormone which are actually basically diethylstilbestrone. The hormone is a very sensitive tissue in case of breast and the endometrium, myometrium, vagina, and thyroid, liver, prostate, and the testis. Especially these hormone which are secreted from this organ, these are very dangerous, and sometimes they produce a chance of cancer. And there suppose estrogen which produce ovarian cancer, endometrium cancer, and in case of contraceptive hormone it produces the breast cancer. Contraceptive hormone diethylstilbestrone, or in the estrogen progesterone derivative in case of OCP pill, contraceptive oral contraceptive pill, that produces the breast cancer. And the abnormalities, anabolic steroid also, there are sometimes the slim they are taking the sometimes the anabolic steroid for their growth and development. Ultimately the alteration of the DNA sequence, and they produce this type of liver cancer. So anabolic steroid, one of the another chemical or drugs which are produce cancer due to hormonal changes. Biological carcinogen. What are the causes? There are some biological factors that produce the cancer. One is the virus, parasite, and the bacteria, especially viruses which produce the cancer, and they are the biological component. The DNA virus, papovirus, human papilloma virus, SV40B, and polymyvirus, herpes virus, or Epstein-Barr virus. They are produce cancer, but still now coronavirus, not if the coronavirus produce cancer, this is not proved, but these are the type of virus or adenovirus or hepatitis B virus, HIV, and these are the type of virus, and these are DNA virus. Another is the RNA virus which produce cancer. These are the RNA virus which produce cancer. The acute transform in the virus, rhesus sarcoma virus or leukemia virus. These are the type of RNA virus. And slow transformation, these are the acute transformation. These virus, rhesus virus and leukemia virus, produce the very fast cancer, but slow transformation, these are the mouse memory tumor virus and human T-cell lymphotropic virus, HTLV1 and HTLV2. These are the two virus. And the RNA reverse transcriptase, that will produce the RNA to DNA, or the neoplasia will be produced. Generally DNA to RNA, but in case of reverse transcriptase of RNA, actually in case suppose the virus enter into the body, inside in your body, generally the RNA virus, the RNA to RNA produce. But when it is introduced into the body, this RNA or RNA to DNA will be produced by the enzyme reverse transcriptase. So in case of AIDS also same, the reverse transcriptase, this RNA to DNA, and they produce the neoplasia. Not all the retrovirus are the carcinogen, obviously, or not all the DNA virus are the carcinogen, but some virus, and these are the virus which produce the cancer. These are the biological factors. Another is the chemical carcinogen. That will be very, very important. Chemical carcinogen, which chemical compound produce cancer? What chemical carcinogen? Any substance that is capable causing cancer. And cancer is the abnormal and uncontrolled growth of cell proliferation in the body and characterized by the cell to turn into the surrounding tissue and metastasize to the new body sites. Carcinogen and chronic toxin. The causes damage after the preparation of the long duration of exposure. They have not a immediate preparation and harmful effect with cancer developing. So why TJ carcinogen and the acrylating agents. These are the class of chemical compound acrylating agent or nitrosourea that produce the cancer and direct do not require any metabolic activation. Example, the alkylating agent cyclophosphamide, which produce the sometimes this alkylating agent which cyclophosphamide which is a anti-cancer drugs, but nitrosourea or diethyl nitrosamine it produce cancer. DMBA nitro. What are the reproductive toxin? In case of mutagenics, the cause is the damage of the chromosome and some by introducing the change of the DNA, and mutagens have the adverse effect. DNA, the mutation having the adverse effect on fertility and general reproductive performance. Mutagen are the chronic toxin. Teratogens, another compound which is teratogen, some drugs which produce the any abnormality of the organ, sometimes in the defect in the fetus or sometimes after the born of the child. It acts during the pregnancy to cause adverse effect to the embryo and fetus, including the malformations. That are the growth post natal deficiency and reproductive toxin can be affect both men as well as the women. So the teratogenic effect. Thalidomide is the compound which is produced the teratogenic. That's a banned, but nowadays thalidomide is used in the different diseases. But sometimes in earlier thalidomide produce cancer or teratogenicity, that is called the thalidomide disaster. What material are carcinogens? Asbestos, certain chemicals, coal dust, coal oven emission, hardwood, and certain species, ionizing radiation, natural products like progesterone, saprol, tobacco, smoke, and ultraviolet. What is the chemical carcinogen? Any discrete chemical compound which has been shown in causes the cancer in the human and animal study, and 100 of individual compounds have been shown in the cancer. And what is the many thousands of additional components additional compounds are susceptible to the carcinogen. Many are the common use in the laboratory operation and studies. So how the chemical carcinogenicity and determine the epidemiological study determine the relationship between the cancer, and it is expect the chemical and human population over a long period of time. Animal study directly induce the cancer in test animal using the large sample of animals and usually of two or more species having the dose and time parameters. In case of chemical carcinogen which are introduced into the animal, an experiment with the animal are based on the premise that the chemical that produce the cancer. In case of the chemical model which is produced for the cancer and will be similar effect on the human also. The most common human carcinogen produce cancer in the experimental animal. So be careful, we take care about the experimental animal. Suppose I am a scientist, we are working in the cancer biology. So at that time we can animal study the carcinogen or chemical carcinogen which is introduced into the animal, and suppose for produce liver cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, that experimental element bites some humans, there is a chance because chance of that might of the humans, these humans are susceptible to cancer. Which classes of chemicals tend to be carcinogens? Number, epoxides. These are very prone to chance of carcinogen. Ethylene oxide, polypropylene oxide, organophosphor or organohalogen compounds, halogen compounds like vinyl chloride, carbon, tetrachloride, chloroform, and hexachlorobenzene and trichloroethanol. Another is the hydrogen derivative, hydrogen or 1,2-dimethyl hydrogen. They are the hydrogen derivative which are actually carcinogenic compound. In nitroso compound, in nitroso dimethylamine, it is a compound which produces some cancer. Aromatic amines, the benzidine, aniline, ortho-anisine and orthotoluidine. These are the amines which produce some cancer, and aromatic hydrocarbon also they are produce some cancer like benzene. Last discuss with you benzyl, anthracene and benzopyran which is present in the cigarette basically. That's why the cigarette produce cancer. This is very important. The cigarette contains the benzopyran and which produce carcinogen. And class of carcinogenic constituent, the mixed organic compound and formaldehyde, acetaldehyde and 1,4-dioxyethylene and carbon dioxide. These are the class. And miscellaneous inorganic compound like arsenic. These are the organic compound which produce some carcinogenic, formaldehyde, acetaldehyde, and these are the compounds. And the inorganic compound which produce some cancer like arsenic compound, chromium, titanium dioxide, beryllium, and cadmium compounds. That's why the cadmium containing substance is very harmful, and lead. That's why in case of Maggie, the lead also the and nickel compound and selenium sulfide, which are very effective for producing some cancer. How do carcinogen enter into the body? Due to skin absorption, the arsenic or any other compound and many solvent and other chemicals go directly through the skin. Ingestion by swallowing of a carcinogens or by inhalation, breathing gases, fumes, vapors in the most common form of exposure. So you can prevent, so you can use some masks, or if you know it, you do not ingest this type of substance or drink this type of substances or inhale or smoking will be inhibited. In that case, there is no chance of carcinogens or cancer. What is the organ which will be attacked? Generally, there are most of the body parts are attacked by the cancer, but the very common is the lung, liver, colon, kidney, reproductive system, skin, and many other organ and the tissue. Actually, most of the area, brain, are affected or cancer will be produced. Where the mutation or alteration of that, there is a chance of mutation, and after that it will be producing some cancerous. I think this will be up to this today. If any question, please ask me. Next day I discuss with the later part. Okay, thank you. Any question regarding this?